Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review, and next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Avengers GamerVerse Wave 2, the Joe Fixit Build-A-Figure. This is Kang the Conqueror. So interesting that we're getting this figure now, as it was just revealed that he will be the villain in Ant-Man 3, which seems a little bit odd to me, but maybe it's just more of a setup to a big bad in another phase, or in this phase, or whatever, however it's going to work. So pretty good timing. Now, I don't have the previous Kang figure. I think Hasbro did release one, right? It was in one of the Walmart exclusive way. Was it Ares? Nemesis? One of those Build-A-Figure waves. I believe Kang was released, and I think it was basically a reissue from the Toy Biz days. So this is Hasbro's first attempt at Kang the Conqueror. It looks pretty good. We get 3 hands for him. We get a weapon, and he does come with a leg for Joe Fixit. Side artwork looks really good of Kang, as you can see there. Here on the back of the package, we have all the figures in the Wave 2 build Joe Fixit. So after Kang, we have Thunderstrike. The bio for Kang reads, Marvel's Kang. Born in the 31st century, Kang employs time travel and hyper-sophisticated technology to conquer all of time. So very interesting. Let's get this opened up. Okay, and here's the Kang figure out of the package. Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell do I have him sitting on some bubble wrap for? And I was going for a specific look based on some art, Kang artwork that I had seen online, that he's kind of sitting on what looks like some kind of invisible pillow type of thing. So hopefully it translates well. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. I'm probably going to use this as the thumbnail as well. But interesting figure so far. So we get the 3 interchangeable hands. We get that futuristic looking gun, which makes sense. You know, it's not really accurate to anything that I had seen in the comics, but it is one of those futuristic looking things. That's what he used, so it kind of makes sense. The figure itself is actually probably 95% all new sculpt. The hands are probably reused. I can't pinpoint them exactly. I want to say that one seems like the Red Skull hand, the MCU Red Skull hand, because it was so large so he can hold the Tesseract. I could be wrong, but I'm sure the hands are new. But, I mean, are reused, but the feet are new, so we got a whole lot of new parts. And even Dwight on Unparalleled Universe's interview had even said that, you know, it's not likely that they'll be able to use this mold for any other figure. So, you know, another Kang release somewhere down the line? Yeah, probably. Unless they get really creative on what they can do with this figure. But let's get it off the air pillow here and take a close look at the figure. Okay, so looking up close at Kang, first we'll look at his weapon here. This is a futuristic weapon, of course. I'm pretty sure we have seen this one before. Okay, so you know what? It was bugging me. I looked it up. I cannot find where this came from. So this might actually be new. But I looked through all the Infinite series and all the Legend series, so anything since going back to like 2014, I checked them all. I think this actually might be a new weapon. So if you guys recognize it, you guys let me know in the comments below. But I think I checked every single one and have not seen it. So the sculpt of it does look quite nice. I like it. I like that it's not that faded gray color. Sorry for the autofocus there. I like that it's not that cheap gray color. We actually kind of get that gunmetal gray on this guy, so I like that. Getting this out of the way, he comes with the right leg for the Joe Fixit Build-A-Figure, which we'll place in the pile over there. The third hand that he comes with is a trigger finger hand, and it has the vertical hinge and not the horizontal hinge, so that is good. So out of the package, he actually comes with fists, but I went ahead and changed them on the figure already to have these open hands. And here is a close-up look at Kang, and that looks really good, just like he does in the comics. Paint apps look pretty good. We get that kind of that turquoise-ish light blue, the dark blue for the face, and that comes off looking pretty clean. That little turquoise blue kind of extends into his eye just a little bit, but it's not bad. The purple and the green look good together. If you notice, a lot of villains are in either purple or they are in green, or in some instances like Green Goblin and Kang, they are both colors. So that is interesting. This is an all-new mold. We get this rubbery piece here in front so that can kind of move around with the figure. Looking at the legs, again, those are new as well, and they are just all purple. So not a whole lot of paint apps for this guy, really nothing on the back. But all new sculpt work, and that's really nice. You know, anytime that Hasbro can make a unique sculpt, instead of reusing the same thing over and over again, because, you know, we give them a lot of shit for that. But when they make a brand new, 100% new, unique sculpt, I think we need to give them credit where credit's due for doing stuff like that. So this is new. Now let's zoom out and look at his articulation, which actually is pretty lacking, unfortunately. Okay, so Kang's articulation. He can look down that much. Did it look like it even moved? Not really, but it did. Tiny, tiny bit. He can look up. Like nothing. He can't do it. Why? Because as you can see, they kind of have this huge helmeted like type look where the ball joint is really deep in there and it's not just kind of resting on there. So it looks like he has like no neck, but when it's popped on there, it looks good and makes sense. You know, it'd be nice if it was maybe a little bit higher up so we can actually utilize the ball hinge that's in there, because right now we're not getting really any motion. You get some pivot in there, and then of course you get the full rotation. Arms can go up that high, and then it kind of gets into this torso piece, this tunic that he wears, let's call it. So it's not going to go any higher than that. You could do a full rotation, but you want to be careful because you're kind of stressing out the rubber when you do that. So here's where the lack of articulation is coming in. There is no upper bicep swivel on this guy, and he has a single jointed elbow. So you get the swivel actually at the elbow, and then again, it is only single jointed, so you're only going to get that much bend out of that elbow, which is very little, just barely hits the 90-degree mark. So that is unfortunate. So new sculpt, that's right, it's the trade-off. New sculpt, but limited articulation. So there's no ab crunch on this guy, but he kind of has that diaphragm waist rocker type of thing. So he can actually pivot to the side a little bit. He can pivot to the other side a little bit, but then here's where it gets a little wonky because forward, that's all he moved. Again, it's one of those things where you could hardly tell it moved, right? So straight up, forward, not a whole lot. Going back, same thing, not a whole lot going back, and then you actually get the kind of swivel there so you can kind of turn them in different directions. Legs go out that far apart, so that's actually pretty good. Leg can actually go up crazy high, and then, again, this skirt piece right here, this tunic piece is rubber, so it really doesn't get in the way, and you can kind of move that leg around all kinds of different ways. You have an upper thigh swivel up there as part of this boot piece right inside there. It kind of goes in. You get a double jointed knee, which works well. And you know what? I didn't even notice this until just now. Pinless knees. So, hey, you know, when we get new sculpt, they actually went ahead and went with the pinless knees. So I don't know if this is the first regular release outside of the premium anniversary line. Well, I guess the deluxe War Machine would be regular since it was, but in the deluxe wave. Either way, we have pinless knees for Kang, so that is kind of nice. I literally just noticed that now. So I'd like to get to the point where all figures, you know, when with pins or without pins, we don't notice until you really start to kind of deep dive into the figure. So that is a good thing. No calf or boot swivel on this guy. Foot hinges all the way down, as you can see. Get a hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So limited articulation for him, unfortunately, but he does look really good, right? So a couple of things in terms of the articulation that I didn't mention. So because he is limited, there are some things that you can do. You know, in a lot of images, he's kind of depicted with putting his arms behind his back. So you could actually do that with this figure. That would not be an issue. One other thing is because he comes with additional hands, he only comes with one trigger hand, and that's actually for the left. So for the weapon that he does come with, you just kind of have to work his hand onto it, which isn't so bad, but then you got to get the trigger finger in there. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. You kind of have to work around it a little bit as we get it on in there. And there we go. So he can hold the weapon like so, and then with these open hands, you could, you know, do the gesture thing that, you know, he does in some images where he's holding out his hand. But then you can also kind of do it to where he has his hand underneath the weapon, but it's a little bit trickier to do that. But you can get it into some certain angles and poses. So for me, you know, as somebody that's not the greatest at posing, that's kind of the best that I could do it like so. So you can do something like that. So even though he is limited on articulation, you can get him into some some poses, but you know, I would like to see what those in the figure photography community, what they can do with this guy, because I'm sure they could do lots of great things. Okay, so my final thoughts on the figure. It's great that we get an updated one. I don't really like the way that old one looks. I have seen it. You know, it was a figure that I had considered getting at once upon a time because it did get a technical official Hasbro release, even though it was based on a Toy Biz figure. I'm glad I didn't, because the updated articulation to this guy, overall aesthetic, I think is an improvement, even though, yes, it is very lacking in the articulation. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Is the lack of articulation enough to keep you from purchasing it, or is it a must buy? I, for one, definitely think he is going to be the most popular figure in the wave next to Falcon. Maybe I'm wrong, but I am curious to know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and as always, thank you for watching.